Which perches are best to get for your parrot? Find out in this video. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am David and today we are doing a bird perch guide. A lot of you ask which perches are best, what perches should you get, which ones should you consider for what reason. So I thought I'd put together a guide, all different perches. Now before I start, I'd like to give a big thanks to Northern Parrots. I couldn't get the whole selection I wanted to because our birds obviously use them and they don't look very pretty. So I've got some lovely new perches that Northern Parrots kindly sent me to show you as examples, along with some lovely footage of our birds using them in the ways I want to talk about. Now, Northern Parrots have a massive selection of perches on their website. As a quick hint, get some more platform perches, Northern Parrots. You've got some great ones, but I want even more. But yeah, if you're looking for perches, go on Northern Parrots. They have a great selection. And don't forget, if you're new to their website, sign up to their newsletter, you get 10% off. Now, perches for parrots come in all different shapes and sizes. Some great and some not so great. The kind of standard you find in most cages is a dowel or a wooden dowel or two, and while having one wooden dowel in the cage is fine as long as there's loads of other options, you kind of want to avoid them because they're not very good for your bird's feet. They're kind of boring and they don't really provide anything apart from somewhere to sit on. So you want loads of different perches for loads of reasons, because perches should be fun. They should be something your parrot can destroy, something that exercises their feet. There's different textures on there, there's different shapes and sizes, so their feet are constantly moving, much like in the wild. There should be perches that they can even forage on, and also there should be perches that they can even shred and eat, which I've got a couple of examples of because there's some really good perches like that. And if you have the right perches in your parrot's cage, they'll be much more comfortable, much happier, and it may even save you trips to the vet when you're trying to trim nails or if they get problems with their feet. Having the right sort of perches and a wide variety of them is really, really important and just an awesome thing to do for your parrot. Now, I thought I'd start with something quite simple here, and this is just a long Java wood perch, and this is quite thick, but it's suitable for both smaller parrots and larger ones purely because it's nice and textured. And because it's nice and textured, unlike a dowel, your bird's feet are going to dig into them a little bit, they're going to get plenty of exercise, and you can even bite at it and chew it, which a dowel just isn't fun for. So this is a very standard kind of perch that you would use maybe for just a sleeping perch for a larger parrot, or for a smaller one maybe elsewhere in the cage where you have toys around it. But it's a nice simple one and very easy to see how even with such a slight change it's much better than a dowel. Now, leading on from this, we have a nice manzanita perch here. Now this is again quite simple. It's fairly straight, but you can see there's some knobbles and bobbles, there's a bit of bark on there which is safe for your bird to destroy, and it makes a perfect perch for a sleeping perch, a toy perch, or even just having it next to food bowls. You have this along and you have your food and water bowls on either side depending on how many parrots you have. They can sit on the perch and feed and drink easily. It's a great multi-use perch as manzanita because they're nice and thin. It's just, I'm going to stop saying it for the rest of the video. It's the last time I'm going to say it. These sort of perches are much better than dowels, and if you can avoid dowels and swap them out for this sort of thing, with bark on preferably, safe bark, it is much better for your parrot. I want to show something a bit different for the next one. This is something we haven't actually owned previously. We had jungle vines before, but this is a liana wood perch. And look at it, it's quite long. It looks like a snake almost, so obviously get your bird desensed before you use it. But how awesome is this as a bit of enrichment? Because it hangs on either side like this, it also makes a swing. It's mobile like a branch would be in a wild, simulating a wild environment and enrichment. This is easily biteable. There's different sort of inlets which you can hide treats in. Again, as a perch, what's an innovative design? And you can probably outfit this in most cages, even if you've got a slightly smaller one, which I hope you don't. Hopefully it's just still very slightly smaller. You can have it hanging across down the bottom, or having it hanging down. It'd be great outside the cage as well. You can have it hanging from the ceiling or from a large stand. I really loved this when I saw this, so I actually requested this, and yeah, I can't wait to put it to use for our parrots. I thought I'd show these next ones off together. They're basically edible perches. One is a mineral perch and the other is an edible calcium perch. This is the calcium up here, this is the mineral perch. And these are both things that your parrot can eat and ingest. And I think it's a really nice idea because you want your parrot destroying things, you want them shredding things. So what's better than a perch that they can ingest the stuff and actually get some benefit from it? Now these are ones we have used for quite some time, which is why I requested them, and they're very good. You can get much larger sizes as well if your parrot's beak is larger and their feet are larger. But you attach these on, you can have them on the door of the cage, you can have them in all sorts of different locations. They can just enjoy destroying it and getting some benefit out of it. And I also like these because they're slightly smaller. You get a bit more utility in where you position them. Because with some of the larger perches, you're a bit restricted in where you put them in a cage. With these, they serve a great purpose of a small perch you can put anywhere and something they can easily destroy and get some health benefits from. Now I don't know if you can hear in the background, hopefully not too loud, the conures are all having playtime, which means Charlie's yelling, so they're having lots of fun with Sophie in here while I film this video. Now this next one is a wood effect seashell perch. Now this is something they can bite at with no issues at all and ingest, but it's great for filing nails. It's a natural material. If you can encourage your parrot to run up and down to grip it, that is going to file their nails down naturally. If they just sit on it, it's not going to make much difference. But if they're actually hopping onto it, hopping off of it, it will help with filing nails. So you want to position this perch somewhere you know they're going to be jumping onto and then hopping off of, so they're constantly working those nails. So we tend to have these on the top level of our parrots' cages and towards the back. So they tend to jump onto this and then jump onto their sleeping perch straight after. What a really lovely natural material perch that's great for a very specific use. So similar in purpose, you have this, which is another sanding perch as well. Not sanded, sanding perch, is very distinctive there. This one, your parrot will obviously file their nails when they're jumping on it. It's got a lovely shape to it to fill room in the cage and allow them to access toys that may be more difficult. But with this perch, if you do notice your parrot destroying it actively and it's getting degraded, it is worth swapping it over for a fresh one, because unlike the other one, you can't really leave it in once it gets destroyed. But it's a really useful perch for sanding and just maybe using more of the cage space up. Now this perch again has a very specific purpose. This is a manzanita perch, but it's like the whole branch almost. Rather than just the stick I showed you earlier, this is like a whole branch setup, and again very nice and natural, and it also allows them to access different areas. They can hang from it, they can climb from it, access toys that maybe you've hid foraging activities in. It's a great perch to provide a bit more enrichment and access to the parrot's cage, and I think we have one in each of our parrot's cages at the moment. I think the boys may not have one yet, which will probably put this one in there for them. And it's a really great one. Pickles often sits on this and watches the world go by before going onto her swing perch. And it's a really lovely one to have in your parrot's cage. Now this perch is a grapevine perch. Now this may look natural, but it's actually got some colouring on it. It is safe to use, and it's very hard and quite heavy. So with this perch, again, if you notice your parrot destroying it constantly, I would be more cautious about replacing it more often. But it does make a lovely perch with lots of different textures. It's got something that can, it's just so easy to climb over and enjoy. And while I do prefer the more natural material perches, this is something we're going to give a go on, purely because it's novel and it's enriching for our parrots, and they hopefully will enjoy it. Now this is one of my favourite types of perches, and I've saved it towards the end because I thought I'd mix it up a little bit. Now there are cotton rope variants of this perch, and me and Sophie don't really recommend them. They're okay to buy, especially if you've got a smaller parrot, with the caveat that you notice they're not chewing it. If your parrot is not chewing on the cotton rope, it is okay to have in there. If they do, it has to come out and be replaced with this, which is a sisal boing. You can use this both inside and out of the cage. It has attachments on both sides, and we use these for all of our cages because it's safe for them to chew. There's no risk of crop impaction. It's a really great perch, and it provides lots of enrichment because you can twist it so they can run up and down. Provides a lot of access to the cage, and it makes the whole cage space accessible. If your parrot is a little bit hesitant about going towards the bottom of the cage, pop one of these up, encourage them on their targeting, lead them down, lead them all the way down to the bottom, and use this perch to your advantage. It's a great one to have. Sisal, highly recommended. Now this is the last perch I want to talk about in cage, and there's a couple of things I want to talk about outside of the cage for perching options as well, because that's something that not many people cover often. But this is a lovely platform perch for inside the cage. Now Northern Parrots stock these ones, and I think they're absolutely awesome because they're very natural looking, with this lovely flat surface. But I'd love to get some of the older ones from Zoomax where they like corner cubes, because our cockatiels absolutely love them. But anyway, platform perches fulfill a very specific niche in your parrot's cage. They provide a foraging surface, so you can put foods on there for them to scatter over. They're great for resting or accessing toys, just tighten up. And they're also really good if your bird has any sort of disability, or to provide access to other parts of the cage. If your bird is like Louis, who has one leg, they're going to find some perches more difficult to rest on, whereas this, Louis can sit on it, he can lay down on it, he can relax on it and play with toys much easier. So do keep that in mind, that platform perches are awesome if you have a bird with disability. And I have a video on birds with disabilities, which I'll leave a card for now, well worth watching. Me and Sophie have become much more keen on platform perches recently due to just the utility you get from them. They open up the cage space, which I know I've said an awful lot. They provide these foraging stations, they provide areas your birds can sit and relax on and maybe peck at and enjoy. And for any birds who have problems, it's just great. They're really useful, and they provide a lot of fun for all of our birds. Now this one is something Northern Parrots have stocked recently, which I really love. It's basically a bed, and you have two attachment holes here which you can make it a perch. You can stick this inside the cage if you want to. It's a great platform perch, but we tend to use these outside the cage because they make really good foraging trays. Now occasionally we will attach it to the outside door of the cage for fun, so they can just go on there and forage on it. But what a lovely idea for a perch, you know. You've got these rims that your bird can sit on, especially if they're a smaller parrot. I think there's a large version as well. You can fill it with substrate or toy parts to help them encourage foraging. I just really love this perch. It's just such a great thing to have both inside and outside the cage. Now, outside the cage, don't forget you have your play stands, you have your Java stands, you have those all sorts of a variety of different play stands. You can even have, like I just mentioned, that bed foraging tray, but you can also get these things. Now, as you may notice, this is acrylic, so this is not something I'd recommend for inside the cage at all. This is something you can have outside the cage for your bird to perch on, to hop onto, to enjoy, and maybe pull at these with. It is a great outside the cage perch, and do think about perching options outside the cage. Think about those play stands. Think about where you can add boings maybe to your ceiling if you have the ability. Maybe add extra perches to your stands, because perching options outside the cage are just as important as inside the cage. The more variety, the more fun, the more likely your bird's going to stay on them, the more likely your bird's going to enjoy them. And we find our cockatiels really love sitting on these. They'll sit on there, they preen, they'll occasionally pull these up. Whereas the conures, depends on their mood, honestly. They prefer the stands. They like to sit on the stand, have a little snack, and then rummage down in the foraging trays. But it all depends on your individual bird. So do consider these if you want a cheaper alternative for a stand. So just to round things off and summarise, lots of different perching options are really important. Go for different lengths, go for different sizes, different materials. As long as they're all bird safe, it's completely fine. Think about your bird's feet. Don't just have dowels. Think about what enrichment you can provide in that cage through perching options. Just perches can provide a lot of enrichment and fun for your parrot. Again, a big thank you to Northern Parrots for sending me these examples. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any perching options of your own you'd like to recommend, I'd love to hear from you. But in the meantime, take care and see you later.